testing, probably not the best approach. I suggest having some kind of investigation around the incident. You have some kind of cause. Was there lapse in judgment? Was there any violation of safety rules? Was that person's demeanor, their physical appearance changed recently? Some type of documentation that you believe drugs or alcohol may have been related to that accident. That's why you're testing. So maybe not having a post-accident drug testing policy, but having a reasonable suspicion drug testing policy, and the accident is part of that suspicion determination. Steve?
Just in terms of the timing, you may have that gap in between the timing, but I think from the employee's perspective, if I want comp and I cut myself at work and then I went home and then you tested me maybe the next day on my next shift when I came back and I came back positive for marijuana or whatever, I'm going to say, no, I smoked the dope when I went home. I didn't smoke it before I cut myself at work. And I'm going to use that angle to get my workers' comp. So you might want to have a number. You know, when somebody gets injured at work on this shift, here's a key person that you call. That person has already the information of where to send that worker to. You know, and certainly if it's alcohol, somebody drives that worker to that site and you get tested as promptly as possible. Because if you leave the gap open, there's all kinds of things they can introduce to try and defeat, you know, your barring of the claim. So I would, if I was running a business, I'd say if somebody cut themselves and they need medical attention, they're getting drug tested right now. Take them down to the lab. Okay, the labs, usually these labs are open 24 hours, or you can go to a hospital and they'll do a test for you, and you'll have a confirmatory test too. So it'll mail them on not only the initial test, but the confirmatory test, and then you'll have your evidence to try it out before the commission where you're trying to deny the claim.
Yeah, you want to have it as close as possible, but I think, you know, we see as you manage the business, especially if the employee knows that's the policy. You know, they go home, you know, try to down castor oil, whatever kind of myth is on the internet that they're going to, you know, get rid of the positive test. And then, you know, you might not even know of the claim until you get it from your MCO. You know, so in those cases, you know, what can you do to say you still have reasonable suspicion that they, you know, kind of tried to skirt the policies? Well, can you still test? Again, legal counsel set all this up ahead of time. Drug testing is not something you want to do from the hip after the fact. You can't spell all this out within policy. I think some of our drug and alcohol policies are 15, 20 pages. Because we're trying to go through each scenario and say, how do you manage it? It's more playbook than policy. Anybody else on question?
All right, I'm in a group rating plan myself, but I was curious about the experience and modification rate. Is there a way that we can find out what our rate is, whether we're in a plan or outside of a plan?
Absolutely.
Try to make it better.
Go first, I'll go second. So the question, Mike?
The question basically is, from an experience modifier, how can you find that out? You can also always go through your TPA, but you can also go to the BWC website. If you've got a password set up through our website, you can actually then turn around and then just implement a new procedure whereby you enter in your password, and as an employer, your site's going to automatically come up and you're going to see your experience modifier. You're going to see the claims that are affecting your experience for this period. So there's just some general information that's there to be seen for your policy number at that point in time.
Yeah, I'd say that, you know, all the things I went through today, that each of you have a limit based on how big your organization is and the type of work you do. That limit is readily available to you either through the Bureau or through your